everybody. Let's make sure that, yep, looks like all is well in terms of sound and video. Hi, live from Denver. It is Friday night. Welcome to another edition of Critical Conversations, the show where you guys get to talk to us, and us being me and the actual feature of the show, my beautiful wife, Melissa, who actually is amazing and awesome. And you won't show up in the comments on the screen here, but prior to the show, there were some very nice words being said about you.
Yes.
And your quotes and help with the show. So yeah, kind of awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What I was hoping would happen is exactly what is happening, which is that Mel is getting her own fan base.
Yay.
And I'm very, very happy about that because this is a co-show. She is my co-host here, and she does a wonderful, wonderful job.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, so... and of course, we are joined somehow, some way. She is going to go off because today was a little bit of a up and down day for me in many ways. And so and then last week I sort of sleuthed the goof on this too. So I'm eating humble pie here that I was a bad chicken. I was a bad host. I did not get 7 cam. And so we've got our little bundle of furry joy here, right here for you. We cannot not have 7 make an appearance. Yeah, let's get that microphone. There we go. There's the little guy. So he just kind of hates cameras, hates being held for very long periods of time in front of a camera. So he's just what he is. But we got an appearance from him there
now
for
I'm
you
covered
guys.
in cat hair.
Exactly. And the sacrifices we make. But like I said, I was deficient this week on that. And that is 100% my bad host. Bad on not getting that 7 cam. But we got that appearance anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our little bundle of furry joy.
He is.
So how was your week?
It's good. I went to a comedy show last night. Ben Roy, he's local and kind of, not super well known, but he was funny. He was really funny and smart, and I enjoyed it.
Yay. And I am going out after the show tonight.
Yes, he is. To
go see a friend in town and a little show. And so it was a good week.
Yeah.
Good week. Yeah, I almost said something, and then I was like, no, I don't want to say that yet. So wait, we'll save that for the future. Anyway, cool. And as with last week, I've got all the comment watching duties over here. So if I miss something you guys say, it's super, super important. Go ahead and say it again. I'll try to get to it. But we're not necessarily just responding to comments here. We've got stuff we're going to be talking about. Okay, now, just to throw it out there, the line is a call-in line for the call-in show we have here, 984-214-4154. I forgot to do this last week, and I am so just bumble all over the place mentally lately. But last week I said I would let you guys know about something that happened last week that we just ended up getting into talking about bad critical thinking and stuff last week. But okay, so I have said for years that the church have Scientology, who I am a fairly active critic of, hasn't really targeted me super, super much. And I'm fine with that. I'm not in this to get targeted by Scientology or be fair gamed or have my life made difficult. After I was on Leah Remini's show, they put up a page on Leah's aftermath hate site, you could say. They got a whole dedicated site to Leah's show. And so with some guests, like Aaron or Jeff Hawkins, I think, or certain others, they kind of got their own site too. Cool, right? I didn't, but I got a page on the Leah show trashing me and my ex-wife on video, talking trash about me and what a horrible, awful person I am. And of course I am a horrible, awful person, but not necessarily for all the reasons they've listed on that page there. The things they say about me are exaggerations and kind of silly. Well, they got to say some of that and more on another page that they just posted, where I am now featured in the Stand League. A couple of years ago, Scientology put together a page called Scientologists Taking Action Against Discrimination. Stand. Get it? They're taking a stand. Kind of funny. Okay, so only because, I mean, the only reason that it's funny is that people should take a stand against religious discrimination. I am not engaging in religious discrimination in what I'm doing, nor are the other former members or critics of Scientology who speak honestly about our experiences in it and the abuses that we suffered as a result of being Scientologists. That's all real. That happened. And we're just talking about that and the sort of nefarious nature of Scientology as an institution. So they put up this page, this website, where they're proposing or sort of saying that they are taking a stand on human rights and religious discrimination and things like this, which might hold a little more water if they weren't violating those very rights in our, U.S. Bill of Rights and in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on a daily basis with their own membership, right? Through the Sea Organization and through the, sort of vulture culture of the high-powered vacuums that are used to suck up everybody's money, because that's all they're really interested in. So, so it's really pot calling the kettle black in the most blatant, flagrant way possible with these guys, saying that they are standing for human rights and religious freedom, and yet in their day-to-day practice are not doing any such thing. But they have featured for years now. They've had, stuff about most of the critics you guys know about, and now me too. I responded to, put a couple articles up on Tony Ortega's blog, and for whatever reason, this got their attention, and now I am Chris Shelton, the man who calls hate his new gospel.
Well.
Yes, I have a gospel.
Yeah.
I have a gospel. I did not know that. I
wish you had followers that were like giving you $100 every time.
Right? I mean, there are advantages to being a cult leader, I suppose, money being one of them. But I just, I suppose we've laughed often about how easy it would be to get some kind of a cult thing going, or go reinvent yourself, rebrand yourself, put yourself out there as some guru or motivational speaker or something, and just tell people what they want to hear, and they'll just throw money at you. And I guess, but I have to live with myself 24/7.
Exactly.
How do I do that? How do I do that? And knowingly cheat and lie and defraud people and tell them things that are just, platitudes and mantras and nonsensical woo. I wish I could. I mean,
I know, right?
Be nice. Anyway.
Darn morals.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell you guys about that because it was just kind of fun. I really am not at all concerned about Scientology targeting me yet again. It's just, now I'm on the stand page. Yay. Okay, so freedom of speech. Yes. Freedom of speech is essential. However, incitement of violence and hate are not and have nothing to do with free speech. Yes, Henny. Words, phrases, clauses, the things that we throw out there for others to consider, and all of that. I wanted to take a couple things. I almost did a podcast today. I don't know if I'm doing a podcast this week. I might do something live tomorrow, but probably not. I'm probably going to skip the podcast this week. But I'll know for sure tomorrow. But we are doing a Q&A show this week. That won't be a problem. I got questions. I've got plenty of questions to answer. But I just didn't really feel super inspired or whatever. I wasn't feeling it today on the podcast. So that sucks. I hate that. As a content creator, I feel guilty and horrible for not meeting my schedule and putting content out on the regular. But I also have to put out content that I feel good about and that I feel is something worthwhile and useful and something that I think represents my ideas and what I want to get across, and it didn't really wasn't happening today. But I did have a couple ideas on free speech that I wanted to share. So first off, I thought it seems that there are two main. Oh, hey, thanks for that super chat, Alex. Awesome. Because they saw the photo of you in front of the Portland org.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right, Alex. That's probably exactly what happened. Yeah, I was kind of
hate, damn it.
Yeah, I was kind of flipping the bird to the Portland org on camera, and I tweeted that out.
Yeah.
I'm a bad boy. Okay, so yeah. So freedom of speech. I'm thinking two things. I'm thinking that people basically are motivated to stop other people from saying things. If I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they have a positive intent of some kind or a legit rational reason in their mind for doing this, it would be either an effort to prevent harm or an effort to stop the spread of ideas, which the person might or might not think are harmful, but for whatever reason, they don't want those ideas being discussed or spread or talked about, right? And there are very touchy subjects out there. You know,
Yes.
very, very touchy things. There are things that you start talking about and you can almost get universal agreement against those things. And in fact, Twitter is full of, you know, lamentations and teeth gnashing over things that are not so universal that you'd think would be, but they're not. And you know, we've got this whole divide thing is people having very different value sets that they are looking at the same events or the same circumstances through. And that actually leads right to directly to my point, which is that when you try to suppress or stop the flow of ideas, the spreading of ideas, the communication of concepts or words, that will almost uniformly lead to worse consequences than if you'd let them go in the first place. You know, in a lot of circumstances.
You know, it's like the thing about it is usually if you just kind of don't acknowledge it and ignore it, it doesn't get popular. But it gets, when you start making controversy about it, it makes that thing more popular. So then more people are paying attention to it. Just, you know, let it die.
Well, there are things that it would be really, really well advised if we were to let certain things die.
Yeah.
But we have this thing now called social media. See, we used to kind of let them die because the way we would proliferate ideas was TV, radio, and before that, books, pamphlets, you know, flyers.
Conversation at a party, you know.
Yeah, and word of mouth, of course. Word of mouth has always been the thing. But now we've got word of mouth like, you know, dialed up to, you know, 2000, right? Because I can direct word of mouth with some guy in India.
Yeah.
In a microsecond. And, you know, it used to be, it took weeks for me to get an idea from me to a guy in India. Anyway, so speeding that whole process up and making and blowing that up has really blown up, you know, the weaknesses in our rights. Because we, you know, if you really want to see where the weak spots are, blow something up. You know, if you got a balloon, you can't really see any little problem with it, but you know, you blow some air in, it gets bigger, and suddenly, oh yeah, look at that, right there. Things get magnified when you really start putting a lot of push or energy or whatever into something. And I think that we have now a situation where we are being tested. Our concepts of our rights and our freedoms are being tested in ways that we just haven't really been able to test them before. And of course, with the pandemic, you know, everything that was dialed up to 20 then got dialed up to, you know, 100. So we've got a lot of ideas being spread around through the internet that we all have access to very, 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 very quickly. And it's amazing to me in conversation with people privately, it's amazing to me how common it is. I do it, you do it, you do it, is how often we assume that because we see stuff,
that the other side is seeing stuff too. Yeah.
well, or how because this appears to be a problem to me in my area, it's the same magnitude of problem everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of projecting onto everywhere else, right? And there was a particular issue that a friend of mine and I were talking about, and he was like, yeah, it's all over the place here. There's stickers all over the town, and there's this and that, and hashtags, and, social media and stuff. And I'm like, I haven't heard a word about that. Not one word. And we're, it's like, never heard it, never seen it, never saw any bumper stickers about it, never, nothing here in my area. Over in, the East Coast where he was, that it was, very spread around all over the place. Anyway, I think we all get the point there. So is it harmful, I guess? I got some notes here I'm looking at, right? Is it harmful to say words?
I think it can be, but like, how harmful is kind of the importance, like, because exactly. Of course, if you start screaming the wrong thing, fire in a theater, that kind of idea, yeah, that could be harmful. You could cause cops and police to come out and waste their time while something else is going on because you were an idiot.
Right. So if we were really going to be precise, and I love being precise, then perhaps we might think about this as there are words, there are the ways that we speak words, the context in which words are utilized and spoken, and there are the consequences of those words.
Right. Like there are you can be abusive with your words. That's definitely true. Sitting there if you're in a relationship and you just tell your significant other over and over again, you're awful, you're stupid, you're an idiot, I hate you, then yeah, that's abusive, and they're going to start processing that, and their self-esteem is going to go down, their ability to cope is going to go down. So yeah. There are consequences. There's definitely consequences to abusive behavior.
Well, I agree. Now, my phone logged out, and so I am sorry. I'm going to have to take a moment to start the show again. Sorry about that, folks. Real distraction here. This will just take a second.
Live show.
Live. Because I don't want you guys to not be able to call in, and in fact, it looks like there's a couple queuing up right now. So
thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line.
Let's pop that in.
Enter your 6-digit.
Pop the 6-digit code in. And
welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
That's awesome.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Call-In Studio.
Yes, thank you, Call-In Studio. Okay, good. So, are words harmful? I mean, strictly speaking, a word is not ever going to walk up to you and cut you.
No.
But harm doesn't just exist in the physical realm, right? Harm can be psychological as well. So we have to temper our rights with this other thing called responsibilities. And I think this is the half of the conversation that gets left out so often these days. And I've harped on it before, and I'm going to keep harping on it because I think it keeps getting left out of the conversation. We're so wrapped up in the right to speak, the right to do the things that we feel we have the right to do, that we lose track of two things. One, these rights are not siloed and exist in a vacuum.
Right.
They exist with other rights, and they exist within a context called a society, right? A culture, a civilization. And with that comes a social contract that carries with it responsibilities, that wonderful but awful but horrid word, responsibility. So the effects of words in action can be dangerous. You can create anything with words. We create
yeah.
love with words. We create curiosity, intrigue, suspense. I mean, we create the whole range of human emotions and actions and reactions with words. But there is a certain scope of action that we would like our words to not push us in that direction.
Prevent that.
I.e. violence, right? And pretty much the universal rule seems to be, look, as long as you're not inciting or calling for violence, then it should be a pretty open forum.
Right. If you're not actively trying to call for harm,
That's right. And this also includes this business of, you don't have the right to speak right now. You don't get to talk, this kind of attitude, right? This business of, because of who you are, what your skin color is, what your gender identity is, where you're from, because of fill in the blank, you don't get to talk right now. Well, that's bullshit. That's nonsense, right? That's just attitude. That doesn't really have a whole lot to do with your rights. You do have the right to speak, and you should be heard. And that kind of thing is what I'm talking about when I say that there's sometimes an effort to just stop people from talking at all. You just don't get to talk right now, right? You have to listen. Well, yeah, we should listen. People should be listened to. But that doesn't mean that because people should be listened to, therefore you need to shut up. Doesn't quite work that way. And in fact, I think the only way to reconcile problems of that magnitude or that order is to continue talking, continue communication, right? But there's constructive and destructive communication. And I think that's kind of something we also sort of lose sight as if we generalize all of communication when, if somebody's screaming, yelling, shouting at you and you're screaming, yelling, shouting back at them, there's not really a whole lot of what I would call communication going on. Not really a fair play, interchange of ideas, honest, interlocution, however you want to call it. That's not really, not really a whole lot of communication. I guess it's speech. I suppose it's speech. You have the right to do that. But I think that if you want to do it, if you want to be effective at it, then of course we have to bring the volume down and use these frontal lobes for more than, football cushions. Yeah, and that actually leads to my John Stuart Mill stuff. Because I really want to make this point about freedom of speech and about why, about this business of shutting people up. And I see you guys in the queue, and I'm going to pick the first one up in just a moment, okay? We've got a few guys in the queue here. I just wanted to say this much before we get into the calls. Society exists because individuals in that society can interrelate to one another. We do that through talking, writing. We communicate with one another. We use speech. To the degree that you are suppressing or stopping or enforcing no communication to happen, you are actually inhibiting not just the free flow of ideas between people, but the essential part of how it is that evolution of any kind happens, which is through the interchange of things. Ideas, right? I have a viewpoint of my worldview based on all the things I've experienced. There are certain thoughts I'll never think. It'll never occur to me to think them about pretty important stuff. But she might think of those things.
Yep.
And tell them to me. And then, light bulb moment. Ding, right? We've all had it.
Oh, yeah.
I think we all get my point, right? If you're suppressing communication, if you're not allowing people to talk to one another, no matter what the subject is, if you don't let that happen, then you are actually keeping yourself stupider, right? Because you're not exposing yourself to other ideas. But it also limits the entire evolution of the entire culture. And I don't know that has ever been that's been mentioned a lot. So I wanted to throw that out there. Now that being said, let's get into our queue.
Yeah.
Okay, picking up Diane. Hello.
Oh, hello. I didn't realize I'd be number one.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. Hey, Diane, what's up?
Well, thank you. My first thing, I have two things. My first thing I want to share is the quote that I love from Harry Potter, spoken by Dumbledore. He said, "Words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic, capable of both inflicting injury and remedying it."
That is great.
Yeah. I really like that.
Words are magic.
I love that.
Yes, I do too.
Because honestly, it's words that hurt us deeply and can repair so much.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would say that I'd say words are the only thing that can kind of repair in many circumstances.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, true. And then my second thing is, and it took me a long time to learn this, if we're true defenders of free speech, we need to defend one's right to say something that we find offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct. I do not care how offensive or how offended someone is over speech. That's not a criteria for me to limit somebody else's speech.
Exactly.
Personally, that's how I view it. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, people get offended by all kinds of things, and if we just, suppress speech based on that, and then no one would be able to say anything.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Well, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome. Talk to you again.
All right. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. That of course leads over to that thing we've mentioned before about hate speech too. Because it's right there. It's right on the edge. In a way, any kind of valuation we're going to make is going to be, purely subjective in one fashion or another. But when you add hate to as a modifier to speech, that is the most relativistic term I can think of. I mean, hate is so much dependent on the viewpoint of the viewer. Yeah, I mean, Scientologists would call my entire channel hate speech.
Yeah.
Just like that. I mean, they would love to take it all down as hate speech because from their point of view, that's what it is. I'm not saying they're just making that up. They truly believe that. I don't care, and neither should anybody else. It's not hate speech as far as I'm concerned, but as far as they're concerned, they got a case, and they want to make it, and they would make it if they could. And therefore limit criticism of their organization and exposure of the abuses that occur inside that organization because they label it as hate speech or religious discrimination. That's what they're so on about with this whole website. It's all about building a case for religious discrimination against Scientology. And this is why I go on about these academics who are on Scientology's side about that, because they're just, they're missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
So that's my sort of stump speech on hate speech is I'm not down for that. I think that if you have, bad or ill consequences as a result of speech, good, then label it as that and deal with it, but we don't have to add an additional level of crime to our talking, I don't think. All right, let's pick up the next call. This is Mark. Hello, Mark, you are on.
Yes, there's this lady has this YouTube channel called Corporate Casket. She talks about crooked organizations and other charities and stuff, and she refuses to do anything about Scientology because she's afraid of the reprisals. She won't speak out about them because of their reputation.
Yeah, that's common. Yeah, I've seen that.
And so people just can't speak their minds anymore. Especially if your wife, your if you're white and you say something, oh my God, you're an instant racist or something like that just for speaking your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that too. I have to admit that is absolutely the case. I will say though that I think that despite all of this nonsense, we are actually still in a place in this country of ours where we do still get to speak our mind, and we do still get to say what's on our mind in a public venue, and no one can really stop us from doing that.
Yeah.
There are consequences to what we do, but it's not, you still, nobody can march into your house with a gun and actually stop you from talking. And they can in other countries.
Yeah.
So I think we've still got a leg up, and I intend on using that leg up to continue talking about this stuff so we don't lose that. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, that's the foundation of our country: free speech and freedom of choice. That's the foundation of what this country is built on.
That's right, and I think those are powerful foundations. I think that's one of the reasons we've lasted so long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
There's these pit bull freaks who absolutely can't stand anybody saying anything bad about pits, no matter how truthful, you're being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They can't stand it, and there's this lady. She's a pit bull psycho, and she's based out of the South. And she tries to rescue every pit and fight. And number one problem I have with her is that when she hears about the pit bull from death row for mauling somebody, or killing somebody, she has absolutely no empathy whatsoever for the person attacked. All she can think of, oh my God, I gotta go see this vet. She'll jump in her van and drive 20 hours straight to this pit bull. She has absolutely zero empathy whatsoever for the person that's been attacked.
Totally. Totally. I'm totally familiar with that. We have a similar crowd here in Denver.
Yeah, a couple years ago, they passed a thing that, because they used to be banned in Denver, and now they're not anymore. They passed something that overturned that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But so we're familiar with the problem you're describing there, Mark, and I think the beautiful thing about our country still right now, at least as long as we still have this, is that you'll have people who have very, very different ideas from you, and you'll have very, very different ideas from them, but through the process of communication, we can at least come to some kind of a live and let live, or, well, we're not going to see things the same way, but you stay on your side, I'll stay on mine. She truly believes that every pit is Lassie. Yeah.
And
I get that.
and it's stupid. The thing is, pits, they're killing machines. Everything about them, their jaw structure, they got those massive heads for those. Their jaws are made for smash. If you put them side by side with the crocodile, the exact same jaw structure.
Oh wow!
I did not know.
Wow,
that.
I did not know that. Well, fascinating, Mark. I'm glad you called in with that. I've got some other guys in the queue, so I want to get to those, but I definitely appreciate what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. We do have two other calls here that we're going to pick up. I just wanted to kind of, I don't know. I feel, I don't know. I don't want to keep repeating myself or whatever, but I really think this is important. This is about tolerance. This is what this tolerance thing is all about, is you gotta let people have their say. You gotta let people, even if you really, 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 really just disagree with them, I get it with the pit bull thing, for example. It's like they're these little killing machines, and they're dangerous. And how could you possibly? Well, if you step a little bit back from that, good that there's some people who are on the side of the pit bulls. Maybe they'll,
if they can
shelter
train them
the
to
pit
be
bulls
nice dogs, fine. But
exactly. Maybe eventually pit bulls won't be the way they are, and we would need people to do that, and we would need, the freedom to talk about that and have that conversation and not kill each other over these different ideas about things that are really not the be-all, end-all subjects that we sometimes rile ourselves up into believing they are.
Yeah. I do understand his point, though. Like, if she really is just running out there and saving dogs that killed somebody, it's like, any dog that can kill another human being or something, you have to be careful with that dog.
Well, exactly. Like it says here, all hunting dogs are killing machines.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that's what they were.
True.
There were. See, a dog can't help its nature. Dogs have been bred for various purposes. I know a little bit about this, and so you've got Rhodesian Ridgebacks, which were specifically bred to hunt lions in Africa. That's where they're from, Rhodesia. And they got skin and that'll resist a lion tearing it up, and that's what they were bred for. So they're not necessarily
they're not your friendly family dog.
Maybe not your first choice, right? They're killing machines, but that's what the dog was bred for. So in its proper context, in its proper place, the dog has a purpose and a function and a meaning, and it should be able to fulfill that. Is it a family dog? Maybe not. Now, Flint asked real quick before I get to the next call. What are your thoughts on blasphemy laws, being that God can be a bit of a dick about it historically?
I think they're ludicrous. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We should be able to say whatever we want about religion and all that stuff,
Yeah, I agreed. I don't hold religion as the sacrosanct, holy subject that it has historically been. And I understand that in a historical context, people can get very, very riled up over their specific religious beliefs and their ideas of what is sanctified and pure and holy and all of that. So we don't have to go out of our way to be offensive to such people. But we also have the right to have our own thoughts and express those thoughts about that subject and about those concepts that those people have. And they need to get a bit of a thicker skin, because blasphemy laws, as far as I'm concerned, are really no better than putting into law, I'm offended.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care. I really don't care how offended you are. It matters to me absolutely zero zilch. The only reason I care about you being offended is because I care about you as another human being, and I don't want to cause you psychological, pain. So I would prefer not to offend you. But when it comes down to I'm going to express my ideas and you're going to be offended by them, well, maybe I won't express them to you anymore. But don't try to make it about me not being able to express them ever.
Right.
That's crazy. And that's where those blasphemy laws go.
Well, and I mean, some of these things these guys that would call for blasphemy laws say about like atheists and people that aren't believers is absolutely awful. I mean, they accuse us all of being Satanists and stuff like that. It's just like, hey, if you're going to say awful things about us, then we get to say awful things about you too.
Yeah, that speech is a two-way street on that for sure. And somebody also mentions, what were your views when you were in Scientology about blasphemy laws? Actually, pretty much the same. My views on freedom of speech through that time have been fairly consistent, even though I would never have supported blasphemy laws, about, Scientology or something. But then again, I've forgotten a little bit about what where I was like when I was then. I might have been. It could have been an argument could have been forwarded that could have been convincing to me about blasphemy laws when I was a Scientologist. I will certainly own that. Okay, good. So let's pick up these other calls because I don't want to keep these folks waiting. This is Kristen, I believe. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey, David.
Hello.
Hello. You're on.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm pretty well. I just want to add something into what we heard there. I think that, frankly, the biggest issue in America today is not censorship by the government because we have the First Amendment.
Right.
It is mega corporations that have, I mean, here's the thing about Twitter. You can say private company all you like, but A, that doesn't really deal with the moral objection, which is that Twitter and Facebook and big companies like that, they welcomed everyone. That's what made them so big. That's what's made them some of the default sites of the internet. And while many people won't care if literal neo-Nazis get thrown off these platforms, it didn't stop with them. And people who were not neo-Nazis and saw this coming knew it wouldn't stop with them. We discussed it a few weeks ago. Oh, the far right are gone. That doesn't make people happy. They just see the people that were left because the new far right, and they have to go, and they have to go, and they have to go.
Exactly. Hey, let me interrupt you real fast. I'm barely understanding you.
Yeah.
I just need you to enunciate a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, because when people saw this coming, that it wouldn't stop with literal Nazis, even though nobody likes literal Nazis.
Right.
And then to chip away salami slices until it's becoming increasingly partisan. And whenever you have built yourself up to be the default social network or the default microblogging site, you don't really, in my opinion, morally, you can't really turn around and say, oh, by the way, we're banning all the conservative talking points, but we're not going to ban any of the liberal talking points. Get used to it. I really don't think there's a moral claim to support that.
Right. I agree. In the same way, I would never suggest that anti-vaxxers be shut up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want them shut up.
Yeah.
Propagating lies on a public forum under the guise of giving facts is a misrepresentation. And I think that we need some kind of a recategorization of the way we input information. You know, I think we need to have journalism and news and facts on one end and opinion-based stuff on another. And I think we need to have some pretty clear lines in the sand on that. Mm-hmm. I don't have super brilliant ideas on exactly how to execute that, but I think we need to move in that direction so that we're not denying people the freedom of their speech.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, if you have one more minute,
please.
Happens next. Oh, make your own website. Well, what happens when I make my own website? You try to blacklist me from payment processors. You try to take away my web hosting services. Even some of them are even trying to go for the domain name servers, which is the very basic infrastructure of the internet. If you really meant your freedom of association, First Amendment, make your own, well, you would let me make my own website.
Right.
You wouldn't be following me around saying you can't be here, or here, or here, or here, or here. You don't believe in free speech. You just want me to shut up. Basically,
yeah. That and I think any of us can get into that headspace if our buttons are pushed.
Oh yeah.
Do you think? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an authoritarian impulse that every single human being has. But here's the thing: you mentioned that you would have people over who you disagree with. Sure, at my dinner parties, it would be ridiculous of me to not invite a friend of mine just because I disagree with him on certain issues. We can all see that in ourselves. So why is it so hard to see that people who run these big tech companies should allow people to post things with which they personally disagree? They're not endorsing anything just by not shutting you up. Just like I'm not endorsing my crazy uncle who believes in aliens and David Icke when it's just because I let them come to my dinner party. Exactly.
I think you have some good points there. I think that where I get concerned, and let me throw this at you and see what you got for me on this, because this is a deep subject, and we could go for a long time, and we're not going to. So let me just lob this at you, and that is one of the things that I would acknowledge as a real big problem for these tech companies in terms of the social media platforms are the sharing of what I think almost any civilized person would consider violence stoking or, grossly anti-Semitic, racist, type obviously blatant stuff, right? This stuff that gets shared on 4chan and 8chan, this kind of stuff, right? What's your take on that?
Well, here's what I'll say about that. If they're inciting violence, it should be. Here's the thing that tends to happen. The only reason these videos get any traction at all is because people point them out to say how bad they are. Mm-hmm. If nobody was focused on them, they die. There was a neo-Nazi group in Germany once where by the time it wound itself up, the majority of people at their neo-Nazi rallies were German intelligence officers who had infiltrated the group.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if they just sat and let them die, they would have already been dead 10 years ago.
Right.
So if we don't point fingers, say, look how bad they are, that's what's drawing traffic to these videos, because people don't actually believe that. It's not showing up on people's search engine results. But if I go into awful video says anti-Semitic shit, they're going to give me a link to the damn video.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And additionally, and I'll just take time to point this out right now because we're right on this. Additionally, you have the algorithms. Oh, you looked at that video? Well, here's 5 others that are just going to be wonderful for you. Right? Yeah. So I think the algorithms.
If that link had never been shared on your liberal media, then algorithm wouldn't have picked it up.
Exactly. So they feed each other. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm going to go on the next call. Thanks for dropping in.
Yeah.
Talk to you.
Great to speak again. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Always love it when he calls in. All right, so we do have this call from Kristen in the queue. I just wanted to check on our time. Good. Let's take this call, and then we will wrap up. We'll do it that way. Okay. So let's pick up Kristen here. Hello,
Hi,
Kristen, you were on.
Okay? Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. I can hear you great.
Excellent. Awesome. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yay.
I have a really quick comment. About Aaron Smith-Levin and how much I hope he wins.
Yeah.
And then I was hoping to chat with you. I'd like to chat with you about a hypothetical scenario that I'd like your opinion with.
Great.
And I know the bell's about to ring, so I'm a teacher. I'm going to talk really fast so that I'm not taking up too much of your time. So my comment was more directed towards the city council of Clearwater, because I live in East Bumfuck, New York. The Scientology and the Aftermath series put Clearwater on the map, but not in a good way. Like, I don't want to go visit there.
Right.
But then Aaron Smith-Levin and Mark Bunker came along with things like their Dining with the SPs and their Cult City tours.
Yes.
Mark has this way of eating pizza that makes me want to get on a plane and make my life complete by going down and having a slice of pizza at a non-Scientology owned restaurant. I just wanted to point that out to the city council because there was one video that Mark had posted how he was making the city have a black eye with the Cult City tours. And I'm like, Salem, Massachusetts does the same thing with their witch trials.
Right.
And Gettysburg does the same thing with their battlefields. Why are they not insisting that Aaron do it more? So my hypothetical situation for you would be, what happens, I think Mark Headley was involved in the planning or execution of some or all of that. What would happen if he ended up advertising a Cult City tour during more politically active colleges and universities spring breaks and included maybe a Cult City coupon book with like half off of admission to the aquarium with your student ID,
right,
or, a certain percentage off of, like all of the non-Scientology owned businesses. That would do a lot, especially with politically active college students. And the whole thing could end with something like the Lisa McPherson Free Speech Memorial Protest or something. Because
Nice.
college students are going to be down there in Florida anyways. I mean, and most college students go down to Florida, especially from my part of New York State. So
Right.
Especially geared towards the city council, Mark Bunker and Aaron Smith-Levin are already doing good things for Clearwater because I've actually heard of it. and now I want to go and visit.
Right.
And I really hope that they do something like the Cult City tours again, because I missed the first one. But I think that is just such a great idea, just like how Salem, Massachusetts and Gettysburg say horrible, horrible things happened here. And we want them to either stop or we want to remember them so that they don't happen again.
Right. I get the idea. Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. I get the marketing on it and all of it. I think that I think the only barrier you have is the Clearwater City Council, and maybe the mayor. I'm not really sure about what other offices exist in the city government, but I know that they really hated that whole concept of Cult City tours because I don't think they wanted that associated with their town that way. So that's their kind of imaging.
They should do something about it and kick Scientology out, which is what, not necessarily like what they should be doing, but at least Aaron Smith-Levin and Mark Bunker are actually putting their money where their mouth is. I don't know any of the other members of the city council. I can't tell you any of their names. I can't tell you. I can tell you that I haven't received a mailing from any of them advertising, visit Sparkling Clearwater in a college town. There are 4 institutes of higher learning within 50 miles of me, and I haven't gotten anything. So they're obviously not doing anything. But their videos, especially with Mark eating pizza and making that noise, like, my life is not complete unless I go down there and have that place. And
I totally hear you.
I know pizza.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Absolutely. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, I wanted to just say real fast, I don't agree with the Clearwater City Council on that. I think they should use it. I'm just saying that I think the reason they're not going to is because they're not down with that. Okay, now we got to make this really fast because I do have some points to wrap up, but I am going to take this last call. Travis, you are on.
Hi, Chris. Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
And I'll make this quick.
Yeah, what you got for us?
So we have an International Management Bulletin number 35. Came out on the 27th of August, 84. And says that the greatest help, and this is Hubbard speaking, the greatest help you can be to the enemy is to permit an org to be insolvent. Do you remember that, Chris?
Is to permit an org to be insolvent. Sure. Yeah, I could see Hubbard saying that.
Oh, okay. So this particular policy doesn't ring a bell, no?
Not exactly, no.
Okay.
But he talked about org solvency all the time. It was a big thing for him.
Well, okay, good. This is a subject that you dealt with to a degree.
Yeah.
My question for you, though, is, and this is really the crux of it, didn't you notice at any point, and the answer is yes, towards the end of your career, but those orgs are insolvent, most of them, from what you've been saying. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So how is it that the Scientologists reconcile this? They're going to their orgs all the time, and there aren't anybody in there. There isn't anybody in there.
Yep.
They're not making money.
Yep.
They're not solvent.
Yep.
But this policy says that they're helping the enemy out. I mean, what? These things are mutually
well, this is how you get people doing these endless condition formulas all the time and stuff. Is because this is how you get people like me after 20 years of that coming out and taking years to get over the idea that I need to save the world. Right? It's like this self-guilt trip that happens as a result of the phrasing Hubbard uses is exactly the consequence of that speech, I guess I could say, right? I mean, the way Hubbard writes, it's the greatest crime. The execs are guilty of, non-compliance with all Hubbard policies when their orgs aren't big and booming. It's out tech, it's out ethics, it's out this, it's out that. It's always some failing on the part of the staff that the orgs aren't going. And we sucked it up in terms of, how did I deal with it or how did we deal with it? We wore it like an albatross around our neck. Yeah, We got to get bigger. We got to get, yeah, we're working hard. We're doing the best we can. And for the most part, the public saw that and acknowledged that. They didn't make us feel guilty about it or come up to us and go, hey, man, what the hell? This place is empty. Why aren't you guys, it wasn't like that. It was more because if a public person comes to a staff member and starts bitching like that, the staff member is going to look at him and go, here's a contract, motherfucker, sign up and come help us, right? And if they, and obviously the public don't do that. So the public, don't tend to have that kind of relationship with the staff. Mm-hmm. It's really just more run on the staff or the Sea Org by the seniors as a way of motivating them with hostility and antagonism, if that all makes sense.
So my response to the contract idea that you just brought up would be, hey, look at how badly you guys have failed over 60 years, and I'm going to be able to change that? No. See you later.
See, and that's exactly the thing. But if you started being like that to me as a staff member, I'd have you go on the meter, and I'd find out what your crimes were, see? So you don't get to talk to me that way, right? There's a hierarchy there, too, which I've talked about, but I maybe not have stressed it as much as I could. So there is that.
I would simply walk out after that.
Well, of course you would, and people do, and rightly so. It's a con, but I'm just telling you how it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's the joke of the night. I think 7 is the cult member here, and 7 transmits via brain waves when you show them on the 7 can the breadcrumbs for the 7 cult. Okay.
Yes.
There you go. That's all y'all watching this now and in the future. I'm not being serious. This is a joke. This is just me being stupid. So,
thanks, Travis.
Anyway, with that, I'll take care.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, good deal.
We've said 7 was a cult leader before with the he's got these toys and he likes to carry them around in his mouth and drop them off, and sometimes we'll drop them off like next to each other in different formations and stuff. So, yeah, he could be a little cult leader.
Absolutely, 7's a cult leader. We are founding members of 7's
right?
cult. There's no question about it. Okay, now I said I wasn't going to do this, but no.
No, that's a call.
No, that's terminated. Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, we are done then on the calls. All right, so I'm not taking any more calls because I wanted to say this. Oh, yeah, I wanted to throw this out there for you guys as a point. I found this and I dug this up and I thought this was really good, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Think more carefully on the topic of freedom of speech, on the topic of words, and we hear a lot of shoot from the hip kind of mantras and guides and rules and cultural sort of things that we say to each other, and we don't think about them too much. And one that hit me pretty hard when I was looking stuff up today and sort of thinking about this was a couple things. One, words are violence. Bullshit. Words are not violence. Words can incite violence. Words can stoke violence. Words can create violence. But words themselves are not violence. And I will rail against that 24/7. That is a hill I feel I will die on. The second one I wanted to sort of throw or pinprick in is silence equals consent. We hear this all the time. Silence is consent. Silence is consent. Well, you didn't say anything, therefore you consented. Mm-hmm. There's a thing that happens with people where they understand in their own minds a context in which this statement is true. Throw it out there and other people hear it and are supposed to believe it's always true. This was Hubbard's thing. Hubbard did this all the time with Scientology stuff. You find examples or instances or contexts where a simple idea like silence is, silence equals consent. And you go, sure, I can think of 1, 2, 3, 4 examples where that's true. So it's true. Well, it's true in those 4 instances, but there could be 100 more where it's not true.
Yeah, we're really bad at looking at the gray area.
Exactly, right? Challenging ourselves. This is the discipline of the critical thinking I'm always going on about. So here is a reason why the problem with no response is that there are actually 5 possible interpretations. If you are met with silence, if there is no response to a post, a statement, a proposal of some kind, just because you don't hear back or there is no answer to it doesn't mean that the person's consenting to it. It could be that the post, it talks about it here in terms of a post. The post is correct, well-written information that needs no follow-up commentary. There's nothing more to say, except, yeah, what he said. So they don't say anything. The post is complete and utter nonsense, and no one wants to waste the energy or bandwidth to even point this out. That could be another reason there could be silence. No one read the post for whatever reason. Silence. No one understands the post but won't ask for clarification for whatever reason. And if you think that's silly, be the guy in a room of 100 people who has a question. Are you going to raise your hand in front of everybody? Statistically speaking, most of you won't. And no one cares about the post for whatever reason. Okay, so there could be multiple reasons why you have silence in response to a thing. So I'm only saying think and context matters always. And these rules and guides that we have and these moral principles that we have for things sound great, and in certain contexts they are great, and in other contexts they're not great at all and they don't work. And we end up trying to take round pegs and fit them in square holes, and it doesn't work. So there you go on that. I wanted to get that over and that across because I'm always trying to get my points across. So did you have anything you wanted to wrap up with before we
No, I mean, I agree. I would say, I mean, it's kind of dark, but the silence is not consent thing is, I mean, just think about it in this sense. If you're quiet when someone's sexually assaulting you, that's not consent, right? So why would it be the same way for anything else?
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Another context. Okay. Pick a card, any card. All right. What do we got?
Loaded question.
Oh, loaded question. All right. This is a logical fallacy. Your fallacy is loaded question. Asking a question that has an assumption built into it so that it can't be answered without appearing guilty. Oh, do you still beat your wife? Right, that one. Grace and Helen were both romantically interested in Brad. One day, Brad, sitting within earshot, Grace asked in an inquisitive tone whether Helen was having any problem with a fungal infection.
Rude.
Loaded question. All right, guys. So that was our fallacy for the week. Thank you very much for coming around and watching us this week. Thank you, Alex, for that super chat, and all of you for your support. I am going to ask you at the end of the show to please share this show with somebody, or share my show with somebody, or my channel with somebody for me. I want to grow my channel, and I would like to grow it faster than it's growing now. It is actually on a steady growth and has been for quite some time. So this isn't an effort to fix something. I just want to reach more people, and I want your help to build this community. So if you know people who you think might benefit from, enjoy, get something out of, relating with us every week or checking out my channel, help me out with that. All right. And that is that's my ask for this week. All right, guys. Thanks very much. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.